I needed to show Felicity Loom that my life was interesting, exciting. I should explain, Felicity Loom was my college girlfriend, and we did it all through my senior year, and then at the very end, just as we had gotten a cell phone plan together, the year was 2004, we were just on that cusp between like nobody has a cell phone and everybody has a cell phone, where we got a cell phone plan together. And this was like the worst idea in the world, because 2 days later after we got the cell phone plan, we broke up. I went to her house and she was hosting this board games party, and I sat next to her on the couch, and it was like I was the only person in the room that she did not acknowledge. And I walked with her outside and we sat on the curb, and I said, I can't do this if you're not going to even acknowledge that I exist. I'm going to be inside the room when I feel like I'm the least interesting person there. So we broke up. And it was annoying as hell, because I quickly realized that in this shared cell phone plan we had together, as I would call home or I would call my friends, the caller ID would say that Felicity Loom is calling. Not me, Joseph Price, but Felicity Loom was calling. My ex-girlfriend was showing up on caller ID at every single phone call that I made, which was. I mean, I think I know why this happened. I remember us being at the cell phone store. I remember us trying to make that decision about who was going to be in charge of the cell phone plan. And I think in this moment of like not wanting to be kind of patriarchal, I just thought that like I would just like, well, why don't we just put it inside of your name? Because I thought that would be kind of more 21st century for my first cell phone plan. And I started to rue this decision every single day. I made a phone call, and my parents would call me and say, why does it say Felicity Loom when you call me? And eventually we sorted that out, and eventually, as we started to separate and kind of manage the cell phone bill, I don't know exactly. I mean, I remember going to Felicity, and it's one of those weird like post-breakup conversations where we're trying to manage some of the logistics of our breakup, and I said, I gave her a check for the first 6 months of our cell phone plan, which made me feel kind of cool, because in my, like post-college I didn't have a lot of money, but I could actually afford to do this. And I gave it to her, and I was like, I felt like at the same time, like, I felt powerful because I could afford this, and at the same time, like, I like the fact that I can give this to you and I don't have to be in touch with you for another couple of months. But those couple of months pass, and I miss her so much. And this is just around the time that Facebook has started to crop up, its very first instances, and I start to see all of these messages about her going to Egypt and Tunisia and all these exciting Middle Eastern countries while I'm still working this PR internship in Washington, D.C. And I start to realize I start to feel so crappy about my life. And I start to think about how can I make my life seem really interesting? How can I show this to her? And I decided that the best way I can do this is start making extravagant international phone calls that are going to show up on our shared cell phone bill. Which is really the most logical thing you could think about in terms of you have to try and make your life seem, interesting and exciting. So I start, kind of plotting out how I'm going to do this, and I figure out the time differences, and I find out some hotel. Google is just coming out around this time, and I start, I start searching for like Canadian hotel, and I do like some searching, and I figure out like what time it is, and absolutely know that they're not going to answer. And I find these hotels and find out the ones that basically don't have like a limit on their answering machine. So I make these really extravagant calls, and I just leave my phone like on my bed as it's just talking to nobody. And I'm sure somebody in Canada is wondering like, why is somebody leaving us these epic, an hour and a half conversations? And I picture this cell phone bill racking up, and eventually, the months pass, and I get this call from Felicity, and she says, "Hey, it's been 6 months. I need another check for your cell phone bill. And oh, by the way, you've got some kind of really big charges that if you wouldn't mind, I'd really love if you can just cover the difference based on what you paid previously. And I'm waiting for her. We agreed to meet up, and I'm waiting for her just to talk to me and tell me, like, ask me about these charges, ask me about the calls to China and to Canada, and if, you know, like, I have a really hot Chinese wife coming on the way, or something. And we meet up, and we talk, and she says, and the money is going to be another $233 for all these calls, and I pay it, and it hurts. And she doesn't ask me for a reason why these expenses, and I hand over the check, and as I realize that if somebody doesn't think that you're the most important, the most interesting person in the world when you're with them, they're never going to think that when you're separated. Thanks.